Hey everyone, it's Michael GoosebumpsFan. Excuse me. Today I have kind of a game review. I guess you could say it's that. It's not perfect for the circumstances, but I'll try my best. So there was a game for Goosebumps that a lot of people love. I've been getting a lot of requests, by the way, for people to tell me to talk more about Goosebumps games. I know there's the Attack of the Mutant video game from way back in the day for the PC. It had Jim Belushi, of all people, playing the Mutant, which I love Jim Belushi. I love According to Jim. And I'm still going to try to get around to that at some point. I can watch the walkthrough on YouTube, and it's really more of an observational thing than an actually play the game type thing. Might sound like a discount review, but still, I'll try my best. But anyway, that's not what this video is about. This video is, of course, as the title says, a review for Goosebumps HorrorTown. And HorrorTown is one of those games I've tried my best to love. I really have. There's a lot of interesting things about it. As a Goosebumps fanatic like myself, I think all of us can agree on that, if you're a Goosebumps fan, that there's a lot of cool things to this. One thing is that this is very cartoonish, but it's also not just that. It's not really the kind of game that I like. I love the app game that came out in 2015 called Night of Scares. Night of Scares was a first-person game. You had the book from the movies where you had to bring in, you had to go after the monsters and hide from monsters and all kinds of stuff inside of Stein's house, I think is what it was. But it was really creepy. It was a haunted house simulator. It was really fun. Really fun for what it was. And then you had the 3DS/now Switch game that I adore as well for Goosebumps the game. It's fantastic. I love games like that a lot more, even though the Goosebumps the game was not a first-person game. It was like a click-type game. What is the title for that? What is that genre called? Point and click. It was a point-and-click game. But I loved both. I thought both Night of Scares and Goosebumps the game were fantastic. Really good Goosebumps games for what they were. And HorrorTown, okay, so my fiance, to give you a better idea, I think a lot of guys out there know what I'm talking about with this. A lot of guys will have girlfriends who love to game, and a lot of their games are mobile games on their phone. It's an app, and that's fine. It's still gaming, in my opinion. It's not console gaming, but it is still gaming. And a lot of the time, my fiance gets into games where she gets to build a town and build a city and have like a farm and stuff. You remember Farmville from back in Facebook's early days, if you were old enough for that? That's what it's like. You get to maintain like your crops and maintain your city and build your city and expand, and as you earn more and more stuff and get past level 1, level 2, level 3, so on and so on, you get to grow your whole economy and your town and everything and just keep building and building. A lot of people love that. By the way, the phone's ringing again in the background, just like it did in the last video, because people and scam callers and stuff decide to call me during the day because they're trying to get their revenge on me. Anyway, my fiance loves this kind of game. She really does, and I think she'd probably like HorrorTown if she played it herself. The thing for me is that this is more on the silly side of Goosebumps. It's not a scary Goosebumps game by any means at all. It has some really cool things that I dig a lot that I don't know how much these things are present in other games, but I'll try to get into that in a moment. I think I played to level 7 or 8 or 9, somewhere in there. I didn't play for a super long time, maybe a few hours at the most. Not in one sitting either. I had to spread it out like a couple of days at a time because I couldn't handle it. I didn't really... Again, I don't love the game. I think it's kind of a... It's not for me is the big thing I want to say here. That's my biggest thing in the forefront. It is not for me whatsoever. I prefer regular games like Night of Scares, even though I don't like to play things on my apps, on my phone. I prefer things like Night of Scares and Goosebumps the game much more to something like this. I recently, maybe last year at some point, I reviewed Goosebumps Horrorland, the video game, and I loved it. It was fantastic. I had it for PlayStation 2. I've even thought about buying the DS version just because I loved it so much. Fantastic game if you haven't played that, but it's a console game. Goosebumps Horrorland was fantastic, but something like this, again, it's not for me. It's not my kind of game. I've never liked games like this. It comes so close to feeling like what my nostalgia was for the DS. I was around when the DS first came out, and I loved the first DS. I love the games. I have so many games that I love, like Dementium 1 and 2, the Mario Kart games, all the stuff that came out around that time. Really good stuff. Nintendogs. I was around when Nintendogs was a big thing, and nobody cares about that anymore, as great as it was. It breaks my heart to see how people are paying to play a lot of games like HorrorTown, even though you don't have to play HorrorTown. You don't have to pay to play this, but it's the same kind of thing with all phone app games. It's a pay-to-play thing at some point. At some point. If you really want the cool stuff in the game, you do have to pay for that, or play for God knows how long until you waste all of your life and your family all die off, until you get Slappy's freaking house in your game. That kind of thing. That's what this game is like, and I don't like it. I think it's... you can earn things, but you work way too hard to earn things. And I hate to put it like that, because a lot of people are going to be like, oh, you don't have time to play games, but you have time to read books. You know, they'll say some stupid thing like that. But my whole point is that I just don't like the game. It's not for me, is the big thing I want to hit on here. It is not my kind of game whatsoever. So of course I'm not going to invest that much time in something like this, but I did play enough where I could really kind of get a grasp on what I like and don't like about it. One of my favorite features in the game, of course, you play as a couple of kids. You start off in the town, they're not brother and sister, they're in two different houses. You bring in different people, and of course each month has a new theme. You'll see like the update screens happen with the new updates. I think the other week it was Monster Blood. I think last year I saw something about camps, like Camp Nightmare, stuff like that. I always see on the Goosebumps fan pages on Facebook, people will update what the new thing is for this month, right? Pretty cool idea. I think it's a cool idea for each month to have something new. I'm curious if around Halloween, like October, if they change anything up. And of course the game was released in like 2018, so I haven't really seen a whole lot of it. It came out in 2017 in Australia, but it came out in 2018 here in the US and UK. So it's something that I just started trying to play and get into. Maybe I'm too overboard or too overlong getting into this, but even so, I don't think I would have liked it as much back then either. I don't like these expansion, weird Monopoly style games. Not Monopoly style, you know, not traditionally Monopoly, like the board game, but like Monopoly, like a build up the entire city type thing. I'm just not that kind of gamer. I don't like that kind of thing. One of my favorite features in the game, even though I didn't get that far with it, was at one point, for example, you can put like the Tomb of the Mummy over here anywhere you want. You can put buildings anywhere you want and move them around. I put the Tomb of the Mummy out there, and at some point when I get like something happening, I don't know what it was, but you have to earn up like a bar of stuff, you can hit the button and have him go around and scare people. But I noticed after a while it almost becomes ineffective. Like he goes around, he'll find somebody and he'll scream at them, and they'll scream and have like a little head pop above their head screaming, and it'll let you know you got a point for scaring somebody, which is kind of a cool idea for this game, but I don't know how common that is in other city building app games. But that was kind of cool. But after a while, it was like the mummy wasn't scaring people. He'd go up and yell at them, they'd do the little scream and yell, and a little check mark would pop up, and that's it. Then later on, I got the lawn gnomes, and I love the lawn gnomes. I recently read the books, and really, really, really love the lawn gnomes. One of my favorite monsters now. I have a lot more respect for them than I used to when I was a kid. The lawn gnomes are great. And when you release them on the town, it takes a lot more time, of course, to get them back. It's kind of a waiting game. You'll do something in this game and then like have to wait like 20 minutes to get a chance to use any of the characters you were using. One of my biggest fears about this game, that I'm still not sure if it's entirely true, was that it might spoil a book I haven't read before. And a lot of these monsters are from the classic series. There's a lot of monsters from all over the different Goosebumps series. Most Wanted series 2000 here. The classic series is what I meant here. It covers a lot of different eras of Goosebumps, which is really cool in my opinion. I think even some of the Give Yourself Goosebumps monsters are in here. I believe that. I believe that was the case. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure that's what I remember seeing. So that was kind of neat. You know, there's some really cool references to old Goosebumps stuff that kids nowadays are not going to get. But I was a little hesitant that they were going to spoil things for me. So I kind of backed out of the game more because I didn't want to be spoiled. One of the first monsters to come into the game is Mr. Mortman. Mr. Mortman? Yeah, I think it's his name, or Morton. I think it's Mortman. Like Mortician, you know? But even so, he comes into the game. I already knew a little bit about Mr. Mortman, and I got a little worried that they would spoil the story for me. They did not spoil that one. By the time I finished that story, they did not spoil it. They covered Creature Teacher, which was also interesting. That's a, of course, Series 2000 story, and also a Most Wanted book. I was a little worried about that too. To my knowledge, they did not spoil that. So maybe they were smart, and if they were smart, I give them extreme props for that, that maybe they decided not to spoil the books for anybody, which is great. I love that. I hope that wasn't the case. But of course, you can go through and unlock different things that are happening in the previous stories and books as you beat each entire story. You can do little side missions here and there. You can have your kids earn up some coins and money for you to buy at stores, or buy random things at stores. Some things you can sell in the store, some you can't. I don't really understand how that works. I don't like that. I think that's kind of dumb. I don't know. It's just not my kind of game. If this is your kind of game and you love these city building type games, almost like a not a Zoo Tycoon type thing, because I love Zoo Tycoon by every standard. That was like a 90s and early 2000s kid thing entirely. If you love Zoo Tycoon, you might have an interest in this. You might. Zoo Tycoon to me was much more fun because you didn't have to keep up with so much garbage, like trying to collect coins every time one popped above your mailbox, or like collect random cockroaches and stuff all of a sudden for no reason. After a while, you just stop using it. So if you don't pick them up, or you run out of room in your pockets, you just have bundles and bundles and bundles of this stuff, and you don't have any room, you can't pick up other things you need to pick up. So it kind of just gets really bogged down after a while, in my opinion. I don't like games like that. I think it's a little too much for me. It's a very pretty looking game. For a colorful, very interesting art style, I like the way the game is designed. I genuinely do. I think Goosebumps Horrorland is a beautiful looking game for what it is. I like it a lot. I like the style, I like the way the characters are, especially the two main kids. I don't remember their names, but they're very young. I like both of them. The monsters I've seen, when they transform, they'll actually sometimes just be on the street and you'll see them like yell or something. They'll like change into their monster form. That was cool. I really dug that as well. But overall, I don't love the game. I gotta be honest with you. I've been hesitant about making this review because I haven't played the whole game, but there's no real way you can. You know, you can play enough of it and get a grasp for what you like and don't like, which is what I did. But for the most part, I can't sit here and tell you I love the game. I just don't. I think it's not for me, number one, but number two, it's just not what I consider a good game by any means. It's just kind of an ongoing pay-to-play after a while. And I'm hoping that people don't spend money on this actual thing like they did with Pokemon Go, you know? I'm really hoping that's not the case, but if you're a big Goosebumps fan, that's your own business. For me, it's not for me. It's just not. And I don't want to completely tear it apart for it not being my kind of game. You know, I'm not really the best gamer as it is. There's certain things I'm good at, like Silent Hill. I love Silent Hill, but that's not really something you can be good at. You just have to be explorative and know how to do puzzles and stuff like that. I really like doing those kinds of things, for that matter. I'm not a big gamer just in general anymore. I used to be, but not anymore. So this isn't my kind of game that I used to play. My kind of idea of an app store game is like a bingo type game. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I like to play, or like a card game or something. But not something like this. I just don't like these city type things. They could have made something like this more of a bigger scale, but also kind of a not pay to play type thing and put it on like an Xbox or a Switch, you know, and it could have been just fine the way it is, because it looks great, like I said, for the style they're going for. But anyway, when it comes to Goosebumps HorrorTown, I don't really have much more to say about it. I think the sound effects are really good too, by the way. That's one of the big things I wanted to hit on. The sound effects and the music when it's there is really good. I dig all that. But overall, I don't love the game. I don't know how far I got, maybe level 5 or 6, something like that. But I wasn't... That's like less than 3 hours of gameplay. But that's still enough for me to get a general idea of what I think about a game. And I'm not impressed. But anyway, I know a lot of people out there love Goosebumps HorrorTown. I constantly see people talking about that and showing off their towns on like Reddit and on, I think Twitter every once in a while, when I do use Twitter sometimes. I don't like Twitter, but sometimes when I do use it, I see it on there. But mainly with Goosebumps fan book or Facebook fan pages, I see a lot of it posted there, people talking about that and the new monthly updates and whatnot. And that's cool. If this is your kind of game, more power to you. It's just not for me, and I don't think a lot of the adults would like this either. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Maybe I'm the only person that feels this way, but it's just... That's for me. But I'm not going to tear out a whole new one because it's just not for me. You know, it's a good game for what it is. So if I had to rate Goosebumps HorrorTown on a 5-star basis, for what this game's idea is and what it's going for, I'd give it like a 4 out of 5 stars. For my personal experience of how I feel about it, I'd give it like a 3 out of 5 because I have such an indifference towards this game. I don't really love it. I don't really hate it. I don't want to play it. You know? Does that make sense? I'd much rather play like Night of Scares or the new Dead of Night game that was announced, or Goosebumps the game. I'd rather play something like that. That's just me. Or the original Escape from Horrorland. That was a really, really cool point-and-click type game. Very unique looking, very beautiful style and everything. But anyway, what are your thoughts on this game? Put your thoughts in comments down below about Goosebumps HorrorTown. Do you love the game? Do you hate it? Put all your thoughts down there, because I'd love to hear what people have to say about this. I never hear people really talk about if they hated the game. If you do hate the game, let me know why. I'd love to know anything you know about future stuff that happens in the game that maybe, again, does it cover spoilers of books or anything like that? Let me know. I'd love to hear all that down below. But anyway, put your thoughts down there. Thank you guys for watching. May the Lord Jesus Christ bless you guys today, and goodbye.